All right, hello. Good morning. So I have these videos I think I'm gonna start doing that are, well, not I think I'm gonna start doing. I'm doing them now. Tarot and astrology tea, and I actually have tea here. This is Blackberry Sage tea by Republic of Tea. It's a black tea. So it has like kind of high caffeine for tea, but it's delicious. I love it. And I put some honey in it. It's like my favorite one. Blackberry Sage is my favorite one. Okay, so part of why I decided to do this video is just because I've been studying astrology for like, I'd say 7 years. And I kind of fell off of, like, if you follow me on Twitter, posting as many like threads and things about astrology, because the more I learn about it, the more I feel like I don't understand. Which isn't actually true, you know, because that's just how everything is. The more you learn about something, the less that you feel that you know. So I wanted to start now because there are a lot of astrologically, a lot of things happening within the next few weeks. We have the next eclipse on December 14th, and then, on December 14th, and then we have another eclipse, not eclipse, we have the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn on the 21st. And so those are the two things I want to be focusing on the most. Lately I've been focusing mostly on sidereal astrology. However, for the sake of this video, I will be talking about tropical astrology because it's more accessible to the people at the moment. Like, more people study tropical astrology. The regular astrology you see in most places is tropical astrology. Okay, so I have them pulled up on my computer over here on this side. You can't see it, but that's okay. First I'm going to talk about the eclipse. For the eclipse, it's in tropical Sagittarius, and what makes an eclipse happen is when the sun and the moon are on the moon's nodes. Okay, so like the lunar eclipse happened when the moon was in Gemini and the moon was in Gemini on the north node, and the sun was in Sagittarius on the south node. And these ones, the solar eclipse is happening in Sagittarius on the south node, you know. And the lunar nodes, they're often, like in Vedic astrology, they're referred to as Rahu and Ketu, Rahu being the north node and Ketu being the south node. And Rahu is representative of the dragon's mouth, you know, and so they're both malefic entities. They're not real like planets or anything, but they're calculated points in the sky. So Rahu, the north node, is about consumption, you know, going to get more, looking for more, the direction that you're headed in. It's the dragon's mouth, you know, and so it's like taking in more information, it's taking in more energy. And often people who have an emphasis of the north node in their own chart, like a very strong north node in their own chart, they have to be careful and make sure that they cleanse themselves very often, because it's easy for them to absorb outside energies. And the south node, Ketu, it's like where we've come from, where we're coming from. And so that is like learning how to let go of things you need to release. And it's not saying that the south node isn't important, because in order for you to like move in the direction you're meant to be in, you have to build on your past, okay, in order to move in that direction. And so this eclipse, we have the sun, moon, and Mercury in Sagittarius on the on the south node. And they're all conjunct, and they are opposing the north node, because that's how they work. The nodes are always opposing each other. And we also have them trining Mars in Aries, and those are the only aspects that they're making, okay? And so I was thinking about this before I started talking about it, before I started filming this video, But the axis of Gemini and Sagittarius as relates to information and knowledge, okay? Gemini is all about, it's mercurial, so it's about like day-to-day knowledge, the knowledge of the people around you, you know? It's not necessarily higher learning, it's like things you learn day to day. Traditionally, according to Vedic valence, Gemini is associated with the occult because Mercury is associated with the occult. And so what's really important here is the Mercury in Sagittarius, because that is ruling, like that has a big hold over all of this energy. And also Jupiter. We're going to get to that later though. But this eclipse season, I feel, is very it's making us think about where we get our information from, where it comes from, how it's disseminated, who is sharing the information, etc. Okay, and I say where it's coming from because Jupiter, which rules Sagittarius, is about authority and being friends with people in high places and kingliness, you know, friendliness. But it's all about like this, the like superstructures, like the larger structures in life, the bigger picture. And then Gemini being about like the everyday people. And so I think having these eclipses between Gemini and Sagittarius over the course of the season, I believe there's only 2 eclipses this time. Yeah, there's only 2. We'll be faced with a lot of questions regarding where our information comes from. Is the information we're getting correct? Is it true? You know, and then how we can use that information that we intake in our day-to-day lives, you know, and not just the information that's coming out now. I mean, like, yes, information that's coming out now, I have to be really careful about what we hear, I think, but also in the larger picture, in the bigger scheme of life, you know, because in sidereal, these eclipses are taking place across Taurus and Scorpio, okay? And I think that goes like relating to basically how we've used this information for our long-term survival, you know, like how long-term survival in relation to the earth specifically, you know, the balance of us as individuals versus the collective, and how we can maintain our collective survival on this planet, you know. And so we'll have a lot of things surrounding climate, I think. I think the people pushing for more action with Mars here, in tropical areas, with Mars here, it's trine the Sun, Moon, and Mercury. And I think the people will be pushing for more action by these larger structures, by these by the government, by people in high places, by celebrities, by people with money, you know, pushing for more action there. I had to like delete some pictures from my phone for more storage. But anyway, I was talking about Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn, because we have all this buildup in Sagittarius. You have the Sun, Moon, and Mercury in Sagittarius on the South Node, and they're ruled by Jupiter in Capricorn right now, which is then ends up being ruled by Saturn, also in Capricorn. And Saturn, sometimes people will associate Saturn with structure, but I don't really associate Saturn with structure. Traditionally, Saturn is more about destruction, sickness, difficulty. Saturn rules a lot of different things. Let me pull out my trusty notebook. Humblings, sluggishness, unemployment, business obstacles, lawsuits, grief, imprisonment, secrets, widows, childlessness, exposures of children, capture, accusations. But it can also, when it's when it's aligned well with benefics, it can bring out, like management of property, distinguished positions, supervision, really like high ranking things. However, it is in good aspect to benefics. Like it is conjunct, like Saturn is conjunct Jupiter and it's sextile Venus, sextile being 60 degrees away from, and conjunct being within like 8 degrees of each other. However, Jupiter, one of the benefics, is in its place of detriment in Capricorn. And Venus also, Venus is in fall because it's in Scorpio. At the very end of Scorpio. So a lot of what's being revealed here information-wise will relate to sickness, and it will relate to lots of difficulty. I think it'll relate a lot to like death and like having to reassess the structures, like the higher structures, the like governmental structures at least in the United States, maybe in other places too, but I'm thinking here because this is where I live and this is the context in which I live. And so there'll be a lot of like breaking down of those structures, because Jupiter also represents structure. It represents authority. So having Jupiter and Saturn conjunct, I think they often have, in my opinion, Jupiter and Saturn have these same goals. They just have very different energies and go about them in very different ways. They both want to have completeness of self, and they both want to have like a strong structure. However, Saturn says that you need to go through the depths and you need to go through all this pain and difficulty and face your fears in order to get there. And Jupiter is just inherently that way, And so as they're faced with each other, Jupiter gets pulled down to earth in a way. That's the phrasing that I'm using. And that's what we've been facing. We've been facing kind of a breakdown. Not a breakdown, but like a really poorly mishandled, like our government structure leading to very poor management, very poor management, mishandling of the people and of information and of things that we need in order to like maintain structure and maintain like proper procedure in the US at least, And again, in relation to sickness as well, with the pandemic and everything. Because there's been a lot of death, as I just read from my notes. The notes are from when I was reading Vedic Valen's Anthologies, which is one of the oldest treatises on astrology that's available right now. And so I think what's really pushing for as I mentioned earlier, changes needing to happen for the sake of the people, changes in the higher structures needing to happen for the sake of longevity and for the sake of survival as a people. And that's mainly, I think, because of the death that people have faced due to this pandemic, And I think that these are a lot of the themes that will be coming up, especially they'll be very strongly highlighted with the eclipse coming on the 14th. And I think there's going to be a lot of very polarizing energies. It's an eclipse, so yes, polarizing, but also with the eclipse being ruled by the sun and moon, and Mercury being ruled by Jupiter and Capricorn in aspect to Venus and Scorpio, while the eclipse is trine Mars and Aries. There will be a lot of those are both Martian planets, not planets, signs. Aries and Scorpio are both ruled by Mars. And so there, like, action will have to be taken. Like, there will be action taken, but I think it'll be the energies of the people. Looking at Venus as like the as just like the relationships between all of the people. The people meaning like the masses. And I think opinions will be extremely varied and extremely polarized, you know, surrounding whatever action is being taken and surrounding all of the difficulty that we've had to face. You know, it's difficult because I can't really look at houses for this because it's different everywhere, and also it's not like the eclipse happens at, like, the energy of the eclipse continues over a long period of time, so the houses would constantly be changing, and so I'm not going to look too closely at that. But I think there will be action taken. And I think that's because of the Mars and Aries trining the Sun, Moon, and Mercury. Because a trine implies it's not really something that has to be forced. It just kind of happens, you know. And with them both being in fire signs, Aries and Sagittarius, I think the action will just kind of be taken. We don't really have to worry about pushing too much. But it is a culmination of pushing from the masses, from the everyday people, in my opinion. And so we'll have to face questions of, well, not we, the government will have to face questions of what needs to be let go of, what information should we reveal, what should we let out, you know. What do we need to let go of in order to ensure our survival long run? You know, in order to ensure all of these, in order to ensure that things are able to continue working properly in a way. There's this big pull between, like, government trying to maintain power and the people needing change in order for them to do well, you know. Sip of tea for a second. And also, with the North Node in Gemini right now, a lot of this I think has to do with, there have been a lot of people, like, I'm sure if there has been a large shift of more people being interested in, like, the occult, being interested in, like, astrology, tarot, spirituality, etc., etc. And Gemini and Mercury are related to the occult and, like, secret information and things like that. And so I think part of the push has been on, like, a spiritual level. I think that there has been a lot of not just spell work and, like, prayer and energy being pushed from the people, a lot of work being done by the people in order to maintain their survival on the earth, in order to make sure that things get done in a way that is sustainable. And in order to, like, improve the structures that we live within so that we can continue to do what we do and, like, live life. I know, like bare minimum things, you know, but you know, you have to do what you have to do. So now I'm gonna go. That was really kind. No, I'm gonna go look at the eclipse. Not eclipse. I didn't mean to say the eclipse. Look at the. I'm blanking. Great conjunction. Yes. So that chart is obviously quite different. We have Sun and Mercury in Capricorn, conjunct in Capricorn. We have Jupiter and Saturn conjunct Aquarius, 0 degrees. Venus and Sagittarius. Moon in Pisces. Mars in Aries, as it has been since like June. Now for this one, you know, as I said earlier, Saturn does bring about a lot of destruction, a lot of like, great. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. I think the most important thing with the Great Conjunction on a personal level for people, pay very close attention to detail. Okay. Because when Jupiter and Saturn work together, they can build up really great structure. You can have a lot of really good, very sustained results. Especially I think with Venus and Sagittarius as well, trining Mars. Not trining Mars, my bad, I read that wrong. Scratch what I just said. Anyway, it can bring about really sustained, really structured results, and very beneficial too, you know, especially after going through deep depths and the like difficulties that come with Saturn, you know, because Saturn forces you to face yourself and to face your fears and to deal with like difficult things that you avoid, you know, but all that is for the sake of having for the sake of getting closer to your own true self, to your own like divinity in a way, if that makes sense. And so honestly, I would say that Jupiter and Saturn are loosely sextile Venus, and they're also sextile the moon in Pisces. So they're very strongly supported, you know. And I know that there have been times where like the Great Conjunction happens and then like terrible events happen, you know, like there have been a lot of like assassination attempts on like government officials on the Great Conjunction. Like that has happened to like through several different Great Conjunctions. But I think that the thing is like difficult things may happen and like scary things may happen, but I think it's for the sake of building up for something greater, if that makes sense. And I think especially in regards to like government and in regards to larger systems and structures, they will probably have to go through like an overhaul or go through a lot of like changes. because they're also we're being faced with Saturn ruling at the moment, because at the same time this great conjunction we also have the Sun and Mercury conjunct at the Sun at 0 degrees Capricorn and Mercury at 1 degree Capricorn. And so those things are being ruled by Saturn Aquarius. And so I think for the sake of the masses and for the sake of the people, there will have to be a lot of changes, a lot of like attention to detail, changes to details, you know, like I wouldn't be surprised if we would see like a lot of little laws being passed, like small things, but that will, small things being passed for the sake of like greater good, but that are difficult in the moment and that disrupt our comfort in a way. And I say that because the Sun and Mercury are square the moon, and the moon relates to our comforts, relates to our mothers, it relates to the home. The moon relates to, I was checking the time, I'm not on here. It's also, the moon rules foresight as well. And so I think this might be a time where like a lot of things that we knew were coming happened. But they make us uncomfortable, you know, and they put us outside of our, what we're used to. Okay. I keep having to pause the video because there's not much storage, but I'm like clearing out things at the moment, so I have more room. And maybe eventually I'll get a camera or something and like not have to worry about this on my phone. That'd be great. Anyway. Oh, I was trying to remember what I was talking about. I was talking about the Sun and Mercury being square moon in Pisces. And so I think during the Great Conjunction we'll be hearing a lot of things we don't want to hear. I think we'll be a lot of announcements we made that are just like not what we were looking forward to, not what we want. But I think it'll also be things that we may have seen coming, but didn't want to. But I also think there will be things that, I think will be like, have like a lot of people's intuition is going to be very strong at that time, and the things that we think are going to happen will happen, but they won't necessarily be pleasant, and they won't necessarily be what we want. You know, it'll be a lot of like, I knew this was going to happen, but I really was not looking forward to it, or I knew this was going to happen, but this is not what I wanted to hear, or like I was hoping it wouldn't, things like that, because of that square to the Sun and Mercury. Because right now the focus is on what needs to happen, what needs to be done, what actions need to be taken, what needs to be said, and not on our comfort. Our comfort isn't what matters right now, you know, especially with it square. The moon is squaring the North Node and the South Node, so it's forming a T-square. And so in order for us to move forward, and in order for us to like in order for us to avoid making the same mistakes as we have in the past, we need to let go of a lot of things and move forward, let go of our comforts in a way, and allow ourselves to move forward in order to take better care, I think, of ourselves and of people. And so there'll be a lot of discomfort happening during this. I think this may relate to COVID and such. Like there is a vaccine, but I've already seen some reports that like people with severe allergies shouldn't take it because there were some reports from the UK of people having really severe allergic reactions to it, you know, and so even though there is a vaccine, not everyone may be able to take parts in it. And I also know, like, for instance, they're trying to direct the vaccine mainly towards like Black and brown communities, so like non-white communities, which is where they need to be because those communities were the ones that were hit hardest by the pandemic. However, it's really difficult because there's a lot of nuance that needs to happen. Because I know specifically for like Black people in America, I have a very complex relationship with the medical community and don't really trust the medical community and don't really trust the government, which is, I think, fair because they did at one point were used as like guinea pigs. They used to test on Black people, and so I understand the distrust, and so it'll probably be difficult to make sure that the people who get the vaccine actually take it, or make sure that like it's available to everyone, or like, and also making sure that the message, I already saw some threads on Twitter about this from like doctors and like Black doctors talking about like if you need, like, they need, Black and brown communities need this, but if you do not get the execution right, if you don't have the right people on it, like telling people why they need it, then it won't go well, you know. And so it'll be difficult, and I think even with the vaccine, there maybe have to be more restrictions based on what I'm looking at astrologically, hearing things we don't want to hear, seeing things that we expect to happen, and not being happy with it, you know, because it's not what we wanted, and it's not what's comfortable. So we have to sacrifice. I think we'll have to, because I'm also thinking about Pisces like a martyr. We'll have to sacrifice our comfort for the sake of doing what needs to be done, and for the sake of moving forward as a collective. On a personal level, if you have anything that's due, if you have any papers, or you have any things to sign, please read the fine print, and please like be very careful about the details. If you're submitting anything, make sure that it is bulletproof because there will be a lot of focus on the fine details. That's what people will be caring about. Making sure things look right, making sure that there's nothing missing. Just make sure that everything is foolproof. Yeah, sacrificing our comfort and our desires for the sake of the greater good, and for the sake of being able to move forward as a collective. Because what matters here, it's not the individual, what matters is the collective, you know. And I think it will be based on, with Mars and Aries, the actions of the individual, which will resonate within the larger collective, you know. So what people do on the individual level is what will make a difference in the direction that this goes in. So now I'm gonna do a little read on tarot. I'm just wondering, like, things people should look out for, what's on the way. And I'm using Tarot of the Spirit because it's my favorite deck. I love this deck. Wait, before I do the tarot, I'm gonna pull some Oracle and like use the Supra. take those so slippery. Ether. Stillness. Seeker. Top of the deck is the hidden. Bottom of the deck is transformation. As I was saying in the astrological portion of this video, there will be a lot of changes happening. Let me turn on this light. Yes. There will be a lot of changes happening, specifically, I think, surrounding the way that we function on a collective level, the way that the government functions, the way that the actions that are taken by larger forces such as governments and like people in power, celebrities, etc. I think power of celebrities will be like on the decline, personally. But what matters here with ether, this is on the subtle level. So like on a energetic level, there will be make sure that you really are like tuning in. Take time to meditate and to focus on what's happening, because I think that there will be a lot of misinformation. I think that there will be a lot of things that sound one way but are not actually that way. So I think it's important to be really careful about where your information is coming from, and to be really in tune with yourself and what's around you, so that you're able to make the best decisions for yourself. Make sure you fact check and double check things, because I think the energy is flowing in a very specific way, and a lot of things that are happening need to happen in a very specific way. And I think in order to not be swept up by all the changes, and in order to not be like brushed aside or like feel lost, that's what people need to do. They need to go more within and trust their intuition, and like I'm thinking about, with all the changes that are happening, it's more beneficial to go with the change than it is to let the change drown you. It's like with water, you know. Water can completely wipe you out, or it can support you. So it's like, surf the wave. Don't let it destroy you. And I know that's like not all, like, things are really difficult right now. Everyone's going through a hard time. People are losing their homes. People are dying. We're surrounded in a lot of death at the moment. So it's really difficult to deal with. And it's a lot of like very heavy energy that needs to be addressed, I guess. And so as we go through these changes, just make sure you remain aware of things. Make sure you take time for stillness, take time to be alone, take time to like connect with yourself, because I think those things will be extremely helpful. Make sure you listen very intently to what people are saying and what they're not saying. I'm not someone who often is a supporter of like reading into things, but when it comes to like news, information, the government, etc., I think it's really important for people to like listen very closely and to analyze, why are they saying that, why this, you know. Just like I said, I think there'll be a lot of misinformation happening. I feel like there will be a lot of misinformation. And through the misinformation, however, I think that there will be a lot that is revealed to people, a lot that has not been available before. Not just, not necessarily outward information, but like downloads and stuff. The different, I think, spirits of the world have a lot of information to disseminate amongst people. In people's personal lives, I think if you have felt like that there is something that you just cannot grasp, or there's something that you just don't know, I think that that may be coming to you soon. And I think that through the silence, and through silence and through stillness, you'll be able to like sort through what's real and what's not, what applies to you and what doesn't, what direction you should be going in, etc. We get an Angelarium card. Okay, that's too many. Way too many. I don't need that many cards. Chatael, Angel of Silence. Roll this back. Remph, Angel of Time. Matriel, Angel of Rain. One more. Israfel, Angel of Song. This silence, I was just talking about the need for more silence and stillness as individuals, needing to take the time to, actually, let me just adjust this. How's that? Fire. Okay, that's a little better. Let me just move the light. Okay, that's better. Let me move over though to be even better. This is really funny. I just went and I moved the Supra deck, and then I felt the need to pull a card, and this card is silence. And this card is also silence. That's funny. Really take the time for silence and stillness. Take the time to connect with yourself. Because how can you really hear yourself? How can you really hear where you're being directed to? How can you really hear anything if you don't take the time for more silence and stillness? I listen to music all the time. I think it's important to listen to music, but sometimes music it can drown out, not drown out, but like can get in the way of really hearing. Sometimes it's more of at least for me, I've noticed that sometimes I listen so constantly that it makes it really hard for me to like listen to anything, like listen to myself, listen to like messages from my ancestors or for anything. So sometimes I need to take breaks from listening all the time. And so I think it's important to take time for silence, find time alone. And also important to have much patience at the moment, you know. I'm going to read the Angel of Silence because I feel like it's necessary. Not usually read from the book, but for some of these, I feel like I need to. Words fail, the wind dies, the earth comes to a rest. Shatael descends in stillness. New forms for all things emerge, touched by the elusive fingers of Angel Shatael. Space fills with silence, and void gains new meaning. We are held still by the grip of its presence. Fear is useless, as its presence is almost always brief. Silence slides over your ears, enveloping your awareness completely as if you've closed your eyes. Take a moment to take the silence within you and use it to still tremors of your soul. Shatael wills it. It's important, like I just said, to find times in silence, find times in stillness, so that you can really listen. And I think through listening, even if you feel like you're listening to nothing, take that time. Because it'll be really calming and soothing, and I think you'll have things come to you which will really soothe the soul through all of the transition and all the changes that are happening. Meditation is incredibly important right now, so that you can know how to ride the wave instead of being overcome by it, like I just said. Angel of Rain. Matariel's touch is felt, seen, and heard. Its presence is heavy, filling the air, saturating the ground. Matariel is heralded by thunder clapping through the sky, signaling change and shift. There is a great migration coming, and it arcs like lightning. The potentiality from one body is moving to another, a precarious transference, a swift communion, like the arrow taking its target. Awareness is paramount for the journey. Don't try to create an outcome for the future. Be in the moment, let the rain fall where it may. And then Angel of Time. I don't think I need to clarify that one. And then Angel of Song. I was just about to look for that one. The herald that will call the coming of end times is Raphael, is a presence, a beacon, a warning. Heated judgment is upon us. The horn that blows the final call rests against the flesh of Israfel's lips. If even it is flesh, Israfel is both melody and the cacophony of existence. Songs can be soft and warm, especially when they end. Under the serene score of creation, the danger of total destruction is hidden. Beyond the destruction may be a new beginning. You must consider the implications of your actions seriously. Choose your steps wisely as the dance upon the cinder soft earth. Well, as you dance upon the cinder soft earth. But yes, the silence and stillness is incredibly important in understanding that things are happening the way they're happening in a very specific order, which may be difficult to understand. But I think it's because there are a lot of big changes happening. There's a really big shift happening. In everything, I think. These eclipses, the Great Conjunction, all of them are surrounding changing our relationship to the earth and why we're here, how we survive being here, the actions that we take while we're here, how we are able to live here in a sustainable way. Because things need to change. And let me go back. I read. Things are in a very delicate balance right now, and so I think it's really important for us to listen to ourselves and for us to connect with the energy so that the collective can move in a very smooth way. I think things will be changing very quickly, but they also may feel like they're moving very slowly. I know that there's probably a lot of nervousness surrounding everything, but I think it's don't worry about it. I think that the best advice is to move with the change. You know, don't set yourself specifically on one outcome. Just keep going with it, and then you'll end up where you need to be if you listen to yourself, if you listen to the guidance around you. But as always, use your discernment like you're supposed to, and that will help. Move these aside, and then I'll do tarot. I'll line them up like this. Yes, that works. Now tarot, I'm going to use a tarot of the spirit, and I also have the Rider-Waite for clarification. Not 10, 11. Justice / Karma. The Chariot. Mother Earth, which is the Queen of Pentacles, but I think it's funny that I was just talking about our relationship to the Earth and got that. The Hangman. 4 of Cups. I'm going to take more cards, but for now, this is what I'm pulling at the moment. So many changes are coming. It's like it's like the world is being put in one great balance. You know, things are being balanced out. Things are being put in their, like, I don't want to say proper places, but like worked out, because I think that there is a lot of imbalance in the world right now. And specifically in the US, there's a lot of imbalance. There's a lot of oppression. There's a lot of people not being treated the way they are meant to be treated. There's a lot of people that are not able to go on their proper paths and on their true directions because of the systematic oppressions in place. And so I think that there will be a lot of changes that are happening. I don't necessarily think that these will be like revolutionary. I don't necessarily think that like we'll be seeing like a giant like systematic change. But I think that there will be some changes in place, because there needs to be some changes in place, because there has been so much death, and there has been so much destruction, and there has been so much grieving and pain, and so many people not able to do what they need to do and able to be where they need to be. You know, there have been a lot of people dying on their own. There have been a lot of people giving birth on their own. And so people have been going through a lot of trauma. And there's a lot of difficulty there. And I think that part of what this is saying is that we have been distanced more from the earth and from the way that we are meant to function. We've been separated from our roots very deeply, I think. And that is particularly for people of color, particularly for Black people, because I think that we are some of the target of a lot of the oppressive tactics, you know, in the US in particular. And so aside from that, though, for everybody, there has been so much difficulty, you know. And so I think things are being in the process of being very strongly balanced out by spirit, by the earth, because we're here because of our connection to the earth, you know. And so I think we'll have a lot of people will be people have already been going deeper into their spirituality. This has been happening since June in particular. Since the summertime, there was a really big increase in people's interests in spiritual things and metaphysical things. But I think a lot of that was in preparation for what is to come now, or within the next few weeks, around the eclipse and around the Great Conjunction. I think that people are really going to be going within, and I think that there will be a lot of changes, very intentional changes, because I'm looking at the Hangman, and the Hangman is someone who intentionally flipped their perspective. They intentionally hung in that way so that they could see things differently, and so that they could have more blood flow to their brain. And that inspires, I think, a deeper understanding and a deeper connection with the self. Allows them to be more informed on the world. I think it really helps with their perception. And so I think there will be a flood of information coming in, and not all of it will be trustworthy. And so it'll be really important. Moon in Cancer, really important. And another Cancer card. And the Hangman relates to Pisces. Anyway, really important for people to to listen to their intuition, and to listen to their foresight, and to listen to themselves, which is why there's this emphasis on needing silence and needing stillness, so that you can hear when you need to, so that you can hear whatever is calling you when you need to hear it. So you can hear the direction that is being given to you, so that you can know where you're supposed to go. Because when you are flooded with information, I was just talking about needing, not getting washed away in the waves, not like being able to surf the wave instead of being drowned out by it. So because of this flood of information that's coming, this flood of energy that's coming, you need to connect with yourself, and you need to take the time to connect with yourself, so that you know what to do, and so that you're able to sustain yourself, so that you're able to move forward. And I think also it's really important to not be afraid. Here's the Fools on the bottom of the deck. To not be afraid of diving into the darkness and diving into the unknown, because there's a reason that you're being called in that direction. There's no reason to be afraid. And being anxious is, like, I understand anxiety, I understand fear of the unknown. However, if you take the time to find the stillness and the silence, you will feel less lost as you go into the unknown, because you need to trust yourself. Oh, before I pull more cards, I know it's getting cold outside and it's winter time, but it's important to connect more with the earth. It's really important for people right now in particular to learn about herbs and roots and plants, and learn what they can do for you, learn about their medicinal and magical properties, so that you are able to use them when you need them. Because the earth gives you everything that you need. The Mother of Fire, the Queen of Wands. The Lovers. Seven of Pentacles. Ace of Swords. The Hermit. And a lot of the changes that are happening right now, they go back very far. Very, very far. And I think that a lot of them are things that were a long time coming. A very long time coming. There will be a lot of lessons. This isn't just about lessons, though, but there will be a lot of lessons surrounding the earth. And I think that part of why you need to go within, I think, is because there may be some there have already been economic challenges, but I feel like there will be more of them, and I feel like that will get even more difficult. Okay. I feel that people are going to really, really have to, if you have a business idea, like an independent business idea, like say you work for like a corporation or you work for something else and you have a business idea, you need to pursue it. I think it's really important at this moment to do that. Because I feel that there will be a lot of the economy is already bad, and I feel like it may get worse. coming up. And I am, because of that, you need to be able to support yourself through in this capitalist system, you know? And so even if you're working, make sure that you are putting your effort, your energy into yourself and into your own pursuits, so that if something happens, you're able to have something to sustain you, you know, so that you're able to have something to rely on. You know, doesn't matter what it is, do something, please. And I think a lot of people will be finding their calling, they'll be finding what is meant for them, you know. I think there'll be a lot of people manifesting, and I see the Lovers here, but I don't necessarily think, I mean, like, it could relate to people, but I don't necessarily think it's about people. It can, but it can be, I think it's relating to a lot of different things. I think it's about bringing in people and situations and things that are most beneficial to you, things that are meant for you. And this is a Mercury symbol here. Well, because it's, the Lovers is Gemini. And so that thinks Mercury relates to so many things. Mercury is shaped entirely by like whatever house and sign that it's in, whoever the rules that house and that sign that it's in. You know, Mercury can go in any direction. And I think that relates to this as well. Being able to make choices, I think we'll be presented with a lot of opportunities and a lot of choices that we have to make in moving forward. And it'll be really important for us to, again, find that silence and that stillness, so that we know what decisions to make. And so we have the discernment to know which people are here in our best interest. So we have the discernment to know what decisions we should make regarding businesses, regarding business, regarding our own energy. Because again, individuals, I think, will be getting a lot of information with the Ace of Wind, Ace of Swords here. And a lot of things from the darkness will be brought to light, I think. And I think that people now is an important time to like do work on the shadow and stuff, and to address yourself and know who you are, so that you are a more fuller and more complete version of yourself, and so that you're able to act in a very unclouded way, I think. Because the less you deal with your shadow, the more that your shadow controls you, you know, and the more that it forces you to do certain things. But if you are aware of it, and if you are connected to it, then it has less power over you. And then you're able to act from a place of your higher self, instead of a place of like your own lower vibrational energy. Which isn't to say that these things are bad. They're part of you, you know? They're all part of you. So it's not bad. In fact, the shadow comes from shame. The more shame you feel about your actions, then the more your shadow has power. Just be aware of yourself and get to know yourself. Okay, I was checking the time. 9 of Pentacles. Two of Wands. Star. Three of Swords. And the Page of Swords. Page of Wind. There's been a lot of feminine energy in these cards. And I'm also thinking about the sidereal and astrological transits, and they're all in feminine signs. And so I think it'd be really important for you to maintain contact. It's important for people to be receptive right now. You know? To listen, to hear, to pay attention. you know, to be very receptive. But I also think it's really important to pay attention to the women and like more feminine, receptive people in your life at this moment. Because there's a lot to offer. I think they have a lot to offer, and I think that they can really help bring the world together, you know? And I'm thinking again about the eclipses being in Sidereal, Scorpio, and Taurus. Scorpio is about survival, doing what you need to survive, you know? If no one else has your back, you have your own. And so Scorpio often has these negative connotations associated with it. Such as like thievery, bribery, like murder, etc. Traditionally, I'm referencing Vedic Valens in particular. But it's also servile and fertile, you know, and so it's meant to do what you need to do to survive, to make sure that the self survives, to make sure that your legacy lives on. And I think that we've been living in a big state of fight or flight. But that's not sustainable. I'm a Scorpio myself, but that's not sustainable, you know? And so it's important, I think, in these times to let go of just surviving and figure out what we need to do in order to like come together. In regards to Taurus, we need to do to come together, to work together, to connect with the earth, and to maintain our movement forward, you know, in order to make our existence on this earth more sustainable. The Taurus Scorpio eclipses, sidereal Taurus Scorpio eclipses are very important, especially regarding our information, how information is used. You know, the information comes in, but where is it going? Where is it coming from? Why are they telling us this? It's time. You need to be very analytical and very perceptive, as Mercury is in sidereal Scorpio. You need to listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, listen to what is most important, and whether the information is being given to you for your best interest or for the best interest of the person that's giving it to you. You know, and I think communities right now are extremely important. It's important to know your neighbors. I think that is an important message for some of us, for some people watching this. Get to know your neighbors, get closer with them, know who they are. And as we move forward, it's okay to be hopeful, I think, because ultimately all these difficulties that we are facing are because of are for growth, and I think, and to move the collective into a higher state of consciousness. But it is difficult, and there's a lot of death, and there's a lot of difficulty, and there's a lot of pain, and a lot of loss and grief. And so we need to listen to ourselves, you know, and we take time to ourselves to listen, and so we can like process everything that's happening, because this pandemic is essentially a collective trauma, and so it needs to be dealt with, you know. But there are a lot of changes coming, and I think it's okay to be hopeful. I think that we should be hopeful. People should be hopeful, but you have to be discerning. You have to be communicative. You have to be able to recognize what's true and what isn't, and sometimes that means seeing painful truths, you know, and not just what we want to see. I'm thinking back to Moon in Pisces squaring the Sun and Mercury. Larger structures, governments, etc., may not be having our best interests in mind right now. I'm thinking about the Sun conjunct during the Great conjunction the sun in sidereal. The sun is conjunct Mercury in Sagittarius, which is about structure, friends in high places, etc. And so just remember that they may not always have your best interest in mind. And so it's really important to, again, be very discerning. Because sometimes it may not, the information that may not be spread, may not be bad, you know? And so again, discernment to know what's good, what's not, you know? And also know that sometimes it's important that sometimes your comfort needs to be put on the sidelines for the sake of the greater good. If you have to stay home, stay home. If you're someone with a severe anaphylactic allergy, be careful. Make sure that the actions you take and what you listen to are the right ones. I opened the deck and we have the Magician and the Seven of Swords, many tongues, and I was just talking about how there's going to be a lot of information coming from like so many different sources. And so you need to be extremely discerning. You have all the tools that you need at your side to make the right decisions. We also have here the Mother of Water, so the Queen of Cups, which is Cancer and Gemini in this deck. Listen to your intuition. Use the magic practices you have in your hands. Like if you're someone who practices whatever your practice is, there's so many different like metaphysical practices out there. Use it to your benefit to ensure that your protection, to ensure that you're making the right decisions, to ensure that you are guided, and to ensure everything that you need, that you have what you need. Because I know there are a lot of changes on the way. You just got to be a little careful and listen. So, that is all for the tarot portion of this, tarot and astrology team. Actually, that's all for this video. I hope that it helped. I hope that it resonated. Remember not to let change overcome you and to just like go with it. Because with endings, there are always new beginnings. Always. The sun sets and then it rises again. So anyway, I'm open for personal readings. I will post my social media in the description, and also the decks that I used in the description. Yes. Let me know if you like this video.